Captain Lee Taemin stood on the bridge of the Daehan's Pride and watched the stars. His ship was old, 40 years old to be exact. In space years, that made her ancient. The newer warships had better weapons, faster engines, and shinier hulls. But Taemin loved this old destroyer more than any fancy new vessel. "Captain," said Commander Park So-young, walking up beside him, "we just received our orders." She handed him a data pad with their mission details. Taemin read the orders and frowned. Outer Rim Patrol, the furthest edge of human space. It was where they sent ships they wanted to forget about. Ships like the Daehan's Pride. "Well," Taemin said to his first officer, "at least they're not scrapping us yet." Park So-young had been his second in command for 3 years. She was smart, maybe too smart for her own good. That's probably why she ended up here too. "Sir, the crew is waiting for you in the main hall." The main hall was packed. 200 crew members sat in rows, all looking at their captain. Taemin could see it in their faces. They knew this assignment was punishment. Everyone in the fleet knew the Daehan's Pride was where careers went to die. "I know what you're all thinking," Taemin began. "We got the worst assignment in the fleet. We're flying the oldest ship. We have the oldest weapons. Hell, some of the newer ships have bathrooms bigger than our entire engineering section." A few crew members laughed. It was better than crying. "But let me tell you something about this ship," Taemin continued. "She's tough, really tough. When the newer ships break down, they need special parts and expert technicians. When we break down, Chief Engineer Kim Dong-ho fixes us with spare wire and determination." Kim Dong-ho was sitting in the front row. He was 52 years old and had been on the Daehan's Pride for 15 years. He knew every pipe, every circuit, every bolt on the ship. When Taemin mentioned his name, he stood up. "This ship might be old," Kim said in his rough voice, "but she's reliable. I've seen fancy new ships explode because their computers got confused. Our computers are simple. They work. Our engines are simple. They work. Our weapons are simple. They work." Dr. Yoon Hee-jin raised her hand. She was the ship's doctor and also studied alien life. "Captain, are we really just going to patrol empty space?" Taemin looked at the mission orders again. "According to command, yes. We're supposed to watch for enemy activity near the Kepler mining colony. But between you and me, I think they just want us out of the way. The war was going badly for humanity. The Hegemony Alliance had better technology and more ships. They had been winning system after system. Human colonies were falling one by one. The news reports tried to sound hopeful, but everyone knew the truth. Lieutenant Commander Choi Min-ho was the youngest officer on the ship. He was only 29 and had been hoping for assignment to a modern cruiser. Instead, he got stuck on the Daehan's Pride as weapons officer. "Sir," Choi said, "what if we encounter enemy ships? Our weapons are 40 years old. Our armor is outdated. How are we supposed to fight?" It was a fair question. The hegemony ships were faster and stronger. They had energy shields and plasma cannons. The Daehan's Pride had kinetic weapons and thick metal armor. It was like bringing a sword to a gunfight. "We fight smart," Taemin said. "We use what we have. We use our experience. And we never give up." Petty Officer First Class Kang Jae-sung worked in communications. He was good with languages and often handled talks with alien species. "Captain, do you really think we can make a difference out there?" Taemin was quiet for a moment, then he smiled. "You know what the hegemony calls us? They call us the primitive species. They think we're weak because we don't have fancy genetic modifications. They think we're stupid because we use old technology." He walked closer to the crew. "But they're wrong. We're not weak. We adapt. We survive. We help each other. When their perfect soldiers break down, they need replacement parts. When we get hurt, we patch each other up and keep fighting." The crew was listening more carefully now. "The hegemony species are all specialists," Taemin continued. "Each one is designed for one job. Their warriors can only fight. Their engineers can only build. Their leaders can only command. But humans? We can do anything. Kim can fix engines and fight battles. Dr. Yoon can heal people and study aliens. Choi can fly fighters and repair weapons. We're not specialists. We're survivors. Park So-young nodded. The captain is right. I've studied hegemony tactics. They're predictable because they can only think one way. We can think many ways. 2 days later, they were in space heading toward their patrol route. The Dahan's Pride moved slowly compared to newer ships, but she moved steadily. Her engines hummed with a deep, reliable sound. Kang received a distress signal on the 3rd day. Captain, I'm picking up an emergency broadcast from Kepler mining colony. The signal is weak and breaking up. Put it on speakers, Taemin ordered. A scared voice came through the static. This is Kepler mining colony to any human ships. We are under attack. Hegemony forces have taken the outer stations. We have 50,000 civilians trapped here. Please help us, please. The signal went dead. The bridge was silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The enemy had already taken the system. Any rescue attempt would be suicide. Sir, Park So-young said quietly, our orders are to patrol and report, not to engage. Taemin stared at the star charts. Kepler colony was only 6 hours away at full speed. 50,000 people. Men, women, children. All waiting to be processed. By the hegemony, he had seen what that meant. It wasn't pretty. Kim, he called to engineering. How fast can you get us to Kepler? 4 hours if I push the engines hard, came the reply. But Captain, we don't know how many enemy ships are there. Choi Min-ho checked his weapon systems. Sir, we only have enough ammunition for one major battle. If there's a full enemy fleet, there. Probably is, Taemin said. The hegemony doesn't take systems with small forces. They overwhelming them. Dr. Yoon looked worried. Captain, this could be a trap. They might be using the colony to draw human ships into ambush. Taemin nodded. You're all right. This is probably suicide. We're one old ship against unknown enemy forces. Command would probably court-martial me for disobeying orders. He turned to face his crew. But 50,000 people are going to die if we don't try. I won't abandon them. This ship might be old, but we're not cowards. Park So-young stepped forward. Sir, the crew will follow your orders. No, Taemin said. Not this time. This isn't an order. This is a choice. Anyone who wants to can transfer to an escape pod. No shame in that. But I'm taking this ship to Kepler colony. Nobody moved. Nobody left. Kim Dong-ho started the engines at full power. Choi Min-ho powered up all weapons. Dr. Yoon prepared the medical bay for casualties. Kang sent a coded message to Fleet Command explaining their decision. The Dahan's Pride turned toward Kepler colony and accelerated into the unknown. Behind them, the safe patrol route faded into memory. Ahead waited either victory or death. Captain, Taemin smiled grimly. The galaxy was about to learn what the weakest human warship could do. The Dahan's Pride dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. What they saw made everyone's heart sink. 3 hegemony warships were orbiting the mining colony. Each ship was twice the size of the human destroyer. Enemy vessels. Detected, reported Choi Min-ho from his weapons station. 2 cruisers and 1 battleship. They have energy shields and plasma weapons. Captain Taemin studied the tactical display. The odds were terrible. His old ship had solid metal armor and kinetic weapons against enemies with energy shields and superior firepower. It should have been impossible to win. Kim, how are the engines? Taemin asked. Running hot but stable, came the reply from engineering. I can give you full power for 30 minutes before we risk overheating. Commander Park So-young was analyzing enemy positions. Sir, the hegemony ships are in standard formation, triangle pattern with the battleship in the rear. They're not expecting trouble from one old human ship. That was the first mistake the enemy made. They thought they knew what humans could do. Dr. Yoon was monitoring alien communications. Captain, I'm picking up hegemony transmissions. They're preparing to transport colonists to processing ships. We don't have much time. Taemin made his decision. Kang, record a message to Fleet Command. Tell them what we found here. If we don't make it out, at least someone will know. Already done, sir, Kang replied. All hands, this is the captain, Taemin announced over the ship's speakers. We're going into battle against superior forces. Our job is to save those colonists. We might not all come home, but we're going to make sure they do. The first enemy ship detected them and started turning to attack. It was a hegemony cruiser with bright blue hull plating and weapon ports glowing with energy. Incoming plasma fire, Choi warned. Hard to starboard, Taemin ordered. Take us into the asteroid field. This was where the Daehan's pride showed her first advantage. The newer human ships were too big to navigate safely between asteroids. But the old destroyer was smaller and more nimble. Kim had also made modifications to the maneuvering thrusters over the years. The plasma bolts missed as the human ship dove between large rocks. The hegemony cruiser tried to follow but had to slow down to avoid collisions. Sir, we're getting close to the second enemy ship, Park reported. Good. Choi, prepare kinetic rounds. Target their weapon systems. But sir, kinetic weapons can't penetrate energy shields, Choi protested. Trust me, Taemin said. And Kim, I need maximum power to forward momentum. The Daehan's pride shot out of the asteroid field like a bullet. The second hegemony cruiser was right in front of them, its captain probably wondering what the crazy humans were doing. Fire! Taemin shouted. Solid metal rounds launched from the destroyer's main guns. They hit the enemy's energy shields and seemed to bounce off harmlessly. But Taemin had been studying hegemony technology for years. He knew something others didn't. Kim, cut all power except life support. Right now. The ship went dark. On the enemy sensors, the Daehan's pride looked like it had been destroyed. The hegemony cruiser lowered its shields to scan for wreckage. Power up! Fire everything! Taemin yelled. This time the kinetic rounds hit bare hull. The old-fashioned metal. Projectiles punched through advanced alien armor like it was paper. The hegemony cruiser exploded in a ball of fire. One down, Choi said with amazement. Sir, how did you know that would work? Energy shields need constant power, Taemin explained. When they thought we were dead, they lowered shields to save energy for scanning. Simple and predictable. But there were still 2 enemy ships left, including the big battleship. And now they knew the human ship was dangerous. The remaining cruiser and the battleship began coordinating their attack. Plasma fire came from 2 directions. The Daehan's pride twisted and turned, but some shots hit her hull. Damage report, Park called out. Armor holding, Kim replied. Some surface damage, but the thick plating is doing its job. Those energy weapons are powerful, but they spread their damage over a wide area. Our solid armor absorbs it better than I expected. Dr. Yoon had made an important discovery. Captain, I've been analyzing the enemy wreckage. The hegemony crews are all from different species. Their warriors are genetically modified for combat, but they can only think in standard military patterns. They can't adapt like humans can. That gave Taemin an idea. Kang, can you broadcast on hegemony frequencies? Yes, sir, but they won't listen to surrender demands. I'm not going to demand surrender. I'm going to confuse them. Taemin took the microphone. He spoke in broken alien language, pretending to be a different hegemony species calling for backup. He gave false position reports and contradictory orders on the enemy ships. Different species started arguing about what to do. Their genetic programming made them excellent at following orders, but terrible at handling conflicting information. While the enemy was confused, the Daehan's pride launched her surprise attack. Kim had been saving power in the engine reserves. Now he released all of it at once, giving the ship incredible acceleration. They flew straight at the battleship. It was a move so crazy that the enemy didn't react in time. Choi fired every weapon. They had at point-blank range. The battleship's shields held, but barely. We can't hurt them this way, Choi said. Their shields are too strong. Then we hurt them a different way, Taemin replied. Kim, prepare for ramming speed. Sir? Kim sounded shocked. You heard me. Full power. Straight ahead. The Daehan's pride accelerated toward the massive battleship. The enemy tried to turn away, but the big ship was too slow. The human destroyer crashed into the battleship's engine section. Both ships shook with the impact. The battleship's shields couldn't protect against physical collision. The Daehan's pride's thick armor plating designed 40 years ago to survive asteroid impacts, held together. The battleship's engines exploded. Power flickered and died throughout. The enemy vessel. All stop, Taemin ordered. Damage report. Front armor is cracked but holding, Kim reported. Engines are still good. We can fight. The last hegemony cruiser was retreating. Its captain had watched 2 ships get destroyed by one old human vessel and decided he didn't want to be the third. Let him go, Taemin said. We have colonists to rescue. The Dahan's Pride limped toward Kepler mining colony. The station was damaged but intact. 50,000 humans were alive and waiting for rescue. Dr. Yoon led the medical teams to help injured colonists. Many had been hurt when the hegemony attacked, but they were alive. Kang coordinated the evacuation, organizing transport ships to take people to safety. Park So-young was amazed by what they had accomplished. Sir, we just defeated 3 enemy warships, ships that were bigger and more advanced than us. We won because they underestimated us, Taemin replied. They thought they knew how humans fight. They expected us to follow standard tactics. When we did something unexpected, they couldn't adapt. Choi was checking his weapon systems. Captain, we're almost out of ammunition. If more enemy ships come, then we'll figure something else out, Taemin said. That's what humans do. Kim's voice came over the speakers. Captain, I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. Word about our victory is spreading. Other human ships are starting to fight, back instead of just retreating. The Dahan's Pride began its journey back to human space, escorting the colonist ships. They moved slowly because of damage to their hull, but they moved with pride. On the bridge, Taemin looked at his crew. They had done the impossible. One old ship had defeated 3 modern warships and saved 50,000 lives. But this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They were something the hegemony had never faced before. A species that could adapt, survive, and win against any odds. The weakest human warship had fired the first shots of humanity's comeback, and the enemy was starting to worry. News of the victory at Kepler colony spread through space faster than any ship could travel. The Dahan's Pride had become famous, but Captain Taemin didn't feel like celebrating. His ship was damaged, and they were deep in enemy territory with limited supplies. Sir, we're receiving multiple distress calls, reported Petty Officer Kang Jae-sung. 17 different colonies are asking for help. Commander Park So-young looked at the star charts. Captain, we can't save them all. We barely survived the last fight. Taemin knew she was right, but he also knew that every day they waited, more humans would die or disappear into hegemony processing centers. Chief Engineer Kim Dong-ho had been working nonstop to repair their ship. Captain, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is our engines are running better than ever. I found some interesting technology in that battleship wreckage. And the bad news? We're down to our last ammunition supplies, maybe enough for one more fight. Dr. Yoon Hye-jin had been studying the alien prisoners they captured. Sir, I've learned something important about the hegemony. Each species has been genetically changed to be perfect at one job. Their warriors are strong but can't think creatively. Their engineers are smart but can't fight. Their leaders can plan but can't adapt when plans fail. Lieutenant Commander Choi Min-ho was frustrated. So they're all specialists, but we're generalists. How does that help us when they have bigger guns? It helps because they can't work together like we can, Taemin explained. Watch and learn. 3 days later, they reached the Harmony system, where a human research station was under attack. But this time, Taemin had a different plan. Kang opened communications to the hegemony ships, all frequencies. Sir, are you surrendering? Kang looked confused. No, I'm recruiting. The Dahan's Pride broadcast a message to every ship in the system, including the enemy vessels. Taemin spoke in 4 different alien languages. This is Captain Taemin of the human ship Dahan's Pride. We offer protection to any species tired of hegemony control. We offer freedom to choose your own path. Park looked at him like he was crazy. Sir, what are you doing? Something the Hegemony never expected, Taman replied. I'm giving their slaves a choice. The alien ships went quiet for several minutes. Then something amazing happened. Two of the smaller vessels broke formation and moved away from the main Hegemony fleet. Captain, I'm receiving a message from one of those ships, Kang reported. They're from a species called the Karathi. They say they want to help us. Dr. Yoon was excited. Sir, the Karathi were enslaved by the Hegemony 50 years ago. They're naturally peaceful but excellent engineers. The Alliance uses them to maintain their ships. And now they're helping us maintain ours. Taemin smiled. The defecting ships brought valuable information about Hegemony tactics and weak points. They also brought spare parts and technical knowledge that Kim used to improve the Daehan's pride even further. But the best part was what happened next. When other enslaved species heard about the Karathi defection, more ships began leaving the Hegemony fleets. Captain, we're getting reports from across the sector, Kang announced. 17 different species have ships deserting the Hegemony. They're all asking to join us. Within 2 weeks, the Daehan's pride was leading a small fleet of refugee ships. Some were armed, others were just cargo vessels, but all were crewed by beings who had chosen freedom over slavery. Kim was in heaven. Captain, I've got engineers from 6 different species working on our systems. We're faster and stronger than ever before. The hybrid technology was amazing. Karathi power systems, Zilani navigation computers, and human determination created something entirely new. The Daehan's pride was still the same old destroyer, but now she was enhanced with the best technology from multiple species. Dr. Yoon made another important discovery. Sir, I've been talking to the refugees. The Hegemony keeps different species separated so they can't learn from each other. They're afraid that cooperation will lead to rebellion. And they're right to be afraid, Park added. Captain, we're proving that different species can work together without genetic modification or control systems. Their first real test came when they encountered a Hegemony battle group attacking a mining colony. This time the enemy was ready for them. 6 ships including 2 battleships. Sir, we're outnumbered 3-1, Choi reported. But we're not outthought, Taemin replied. All ships, execute Plan Gamma. Plan Gamma was something only humans could have invented. It required each ship to do something they weren't designed for. Karathi engineering ships became fighters. Zilani scout vessels became bombers. Human cargo ships became decoys. The Hegemony commanders couldn't understand what they were seeing. Their tactical computers had no data on this type of mixed formation. Their genetic programming didn't include responses to such chaotic cooperation. Enemy ships are confused, Park reported. They keep changing formation, trying to match our pattern. Good. While they're thinking, we're acting. All ships, attack. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Different species, with different technologies working as one force. The Hegemony ships were individually superior, but they couldn't coordinate against such unpredictable opponents. One by one, the enemy vessels fell. Some were destroyed, others surrendered. A few more defected when they saw what cooperation could accomplish. After the victory, Taemin called a meeting of all ship captains in their growing fleet. We've proven something important, he told the assembled beings. The Hegemony is not invincible. Their strength comes from fear and separation. Our strength comes from choice and cooperation. A Karathi captain spoke up. Captain Taemin, my people have never fought before, but fighting alongside humans has taught us courage we didn't know we had. A Zilani navigator added, and working with Karathi engineers has made our ships better than they ever were under Hegemony control. Kim had been listening quietly. Captain, I've been thinking, what if we're not just fighting a war? What if we're building something new? What do you mean? I mean a new kind of alliance, not based on genetic control or fear, but on voluntary cooperation. Different species helping each other because they want to, not because they have to. Dr. Yoon was excited by the idea. Captain, that could change everything. The Hegemony maintains power by keeping species isolated and dependent. If we prove that cooperation works better than control, then we won't just win this war. Taemin finished. We'll create a new kind of galaxy. Over the next month, their fleet grew to over 30 ships. Word of their victories spread throughout hegemony space. More species began to rebel. More ships defected. The Daihan's pride was no longer alone. But success brought new challenges. Choi was worried about their rapid expansion. "Sir, we're getting bigger than we can manage. How do we coordinate so many different species with different technologies?" "The same way humans always have," Taemin replied. "We figure it out as we go." Kang had been monitoring enemy communications. "Captain, the Hegemony High Command is starting to panic. They're calling us the Ghost Fleet because we appear where they least expect us. And disappear before they can respond," Park added. "Sir, I think we're reaching a turning point. The enemy is reacting to us instead of controlling the situation." That night, Taemin stood on the bridge looking at the stars. His ship was still old, still the weakest human warship in terms of raw specifications, but she was no longer alone. She was the flagship of a new kind of alliance. The advance had begun. Not just a military advance, but something more important. An advance of ideas. The idea that different species could work together as equals. The idea that strength came from diversity, not uniformity. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for centuries by keeping everyone apart. Now the Daihan's pride was bringing them together. And once that process started, it could not be stopped. Captain Taemin had never wanted to be an admiral, but that's what he had become. The Daihan's pride now led a fleet of over 200 ships from 30 different species. Each day brought new refugees, new defectors, and new challenges. "Sir, we have a problem," Commander Park So-young reported. "Hegemony High Command is sending their entire core fleet to destroy us. 150 warships, including their flagship dreadnought." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The enemy had decided the rebellion was too dangerous to ignore. Chief Engineer Kim Dong-ho whistled softly. "Captain, that's the biggest fleet the hegemony has ever assembled. Their dreadnought alone has more firepower than our entire force." Dr. Yoon Hye-jin looked up from her research station. "Sir, I've been studying intercepted communications. The hegemony leadership is terrified. We've proven that their control system can be broken. If we survive this battle, other sectors will rebel too." Lieutenant Commander Choi Min-ho was checking tactical displays. "Captain, even with all our allies, we're outnumbered, and most of our ships are converted cargo vessels, not warships." Taemin studied the reports. The hegemony core fleet was everything the rebellion was not. Uniform ships with identical weapons, crews of genetically modified specialists, and tactics refined over centuries of conquest. "Kang, send a message to all ship captains," Taemin ordered. "Emergency meeting in 2 hours." The meeting was held in the Daihan's Pride's main hangar, which had been expanded using Karathi engineering techniques. Representatives from 30 species gathered to discuss their fate. "We all know why we're here," Taemin began. "The hegemony is sending everything they have to destroy us. We can run or we can fight. But running just delays the inevitable." A Karathi captain spoke first. "Admiral Taemin, my people are engineers, not warriors, but we will not go back to slavery." A Zilani navigator added, "Our ships are fast but lightly armed. However, we know every secret hyperspace route in this sector. One by one, each species offered what they could. Some had advanced sensors, others had superior shields, many had nothing but determination, but all were willing to fight." Kim had been working on something special. "Admiral, I've been coordinating with engineers from all our species. We've developed something the galaxy has never seen before, a truly integrated fleet." He activated a holographic display showing their ships connected by data links. Every vessel shares information instantly. Karathi power systems, Zilani navigation, Tharkan sensors, human tactics. We're not just an alliance anymore. We're a single organism. Dr. Yoon was excited. "Captain, this is revolutionary. The hegemony uses standardization to maintain control. We're using diversity to create strength." Park looked concerned. "Sir, it's an interesting theory, but can it work in battle? Coordinating 200 different ships with different capabilities?" "It'll work," Taman said confidently, because it's what humans do best. We adapt, we improvise, we turn weaknesses into strengths. 3 days later, the Hegemony Core fleet arrived at the Nexus system where the rebellion had made its stand. The enemy formation was perfect. Battleships in the center, cruisers on the flanks, destroyers screening the perimeter, everything in precise geometric patterns. The rebel fleet looked chaotic in comparison. Ships of different sizes and designs scattered throughout the system. No apparent formation or battle plan. Incoming transmission from the enemy flagship, Kang reported. Put it on screen. A figure appeared on the main display. It looked vaguely humanoid but with metallic skin and glowing eyes. This was a Hegemony Supreme Commander, genetically modified to be the perfect military leader. I am Supreme Commander. Vex Corian, the alien said. You lead a rabble of inferior species against the natural order. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Taman stood up. I am Admiral Lee Taman of the Dahan's Pride. We represent 30 species fighting for the right to choose their own destiny. We will never surrender. The Supreme Commander looked puzzled. You command the vessel that began this rebellion? Our intelligence reports indicated it was the weakest human warship in their fleet. Your intelligence was wrong, Taman replied. This ship isn't weak. She's just different. And different is exactly what we need. The transmission ended. Battle was about to begin. All ships execute formation chaos, Taman ordered. What happened next had never been seen in galactic warfare. 200 ships moved in patterns that seemed random but were actually precisely coordinated. Fast Zilani scouts darted between enemy lines, sharing targeting data. Karathi engineering vessels became mobile repair platforms, fixing damaged allies mid-battle. Human ships used tactics that confused enemy sensors. The Hegemony fleet tried to respond with standard maneuvers, but their genetic programming couldn't adapt to such unpredictable opponents. Their perfect formations became weaknesses when faced with chaos that actually had purpose. Enemy dreadnought is moving to engage us directly, Choi reported. The massive ship was 10 times the size of the Dahan's Pride. Its weapons could destroy a dozen rebel ships with each shot. Good. Taman smiled. That's exactly what we want. All ships, execute Plan Humanity. Plan Humanity was named after the human tendency to do impossible things through sheer determination. It required every ship in the fleet to sacrifice something. For the greater good, Karathi vessels overloaded their power systems to create massive electromagnetic interference. Zilani ships used their speed to create false sensor readings. Smaller vessels flew suicide runs to distract enemy gunners. And through it all, the Dahan's Pride flew straight at the enemy dreadnought. Sir, they're targeting us with every weapon. They have, Park warned. I know. Kim, give me everything the engines have. The old destroyer accelerated toward the massive enemy ship. Plasma bolts and energy beams filled space around them. The Dahan's Pride's armor, upgraded with technology, from a dozen species held against the assault. We're in range, Choi announced. Fire everything. But they weren't trying to destroy the dreadnought. That was impossible with their limited firepower. Instead, they targeted something more vulnerable. The command bridge. The kinetic rounds punched through the dreadnought's armor and destroyed the Supreme Commander's control center. Without their perfect leader, the Hegemony fleet lost coordination. Enemy ships are breaking formation, Park reported. They don't know what to do without orders. That's when the real battle began. Individual rebel ships engaged enemy vessels in dozens of separate fights throughout the system. Each battle was different because each rebel crew fought their own way. Dr. Yoon monitored enemy communications. Admiral, I'm hearing panic on their channels. They're saying we fight like madmen. Their tactical computers can't predict our moves. That's because we're not following any tactical manual, Taman explained. We're making it up as we go. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Hegemony Core fleet was destroyed or scattered. The dreadnought was a burning wreck. Supreme, Commander Vex Corian was dead. But the real victory wasn't the destruction of enemy ships. It was what happened next. Admiral, I'm receiving surrender transmissions, Kang reported. Not just from this battle, Ships across the galaxy are laying down their arms. Entire sectors are declaring independence. The rebellion had become something bigger than anyone expected. It had become a revolution that was spreading faster than the hegemony could contain. Kim was grinning as he worked on repairs. "Admiral, we did it. We actually did it." "No," Taemin corrected him. "We started it. The real work begins now." On the main screen, stars that had been under hegemony control for centuries were now free. Different species were talking to each other for the first time. Ancient enemies were becoming allies. The Dehun's Pride was still the weakest human warship in terms of raw specifications. But she had become something more important. She was the symbol of a new age. An age where strength came not from uniformity, but from diversity. Not from control, but from cooperation. The advance could not be stopped because it wasn't just military. It was an advance of hope, spreading from system to system, species to species, heart to heart. And it all started with one old ship and a crew that refused to give up. 6 months after the great battle at Nexus, the Dehun's Pride approached the hegemony capital system. Admiral Taemin stood on the bridge of his old ship, watching as hundreds of vessels from dozens of species flew alongside them. The rebellion had become something no one expected, a new kind of civilization. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from the capital world," reported Petty Officer Kang Jae-sung. "The Hegemony Council wants to negotiate." Commander Park So-young looked surprised. "They want to negotiate? 6 months ago they were trying to exterminate us." "That was before half the galaxy declared independence," Dr. Yoon Hee-jin observed. "Captain, my research shows the hegemony is collapsing from within. Their genetic control systems are breaking down." Chief Engineer Kim Dong-ho was monitoring fleet communications. "Admiral, we have representatives from over 60 species requesting permission to join the talks." Lieutenant Commander Choi Min-ho was studying sensor readings of the capital system. "Sir, their defense fleet is standing down. I count over 300 ships, but none are powering weapons." Taemin nodded. This was the moment he had been working toward. Not the destruction of the hegemony, but its transformation into something better. "All ships, maintain formation but keep weapons offline," he ordered. "We're here to talk, not fight." The Yabe fleet moved slowly toward the capital world of Hegemon Prime. The planet was massive, with gleaming cities and orbital stations that had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. But now those stations looked different. Many showed signs of damage from internal revolts. "Kang, open a channel to the Hegemony Council." The main screen flickered to life, showing 6 alien beings seated around a circular table. Each represented one of the original hegemony species. They looked tired and defeated. "I am Council Leader Thex Moran," said the central figure. "We acknowledge that the old system has failed. We are prepared to discuss terms." "There are no terms," Taemin replied. "We're not here to conquer you. We're here to offer you the same thing we've offered everyone else, the right to choose your own path." The council looked confused. Thex Moran spoke again. "You don't want tribute? Territory? Revenge for the war?" "No. We want partnership. We want cooperation. We want you to join us in building something new." Dr. Yoon had prepared for this moment. "Council Leader, I've studied your genetic modifications. They were designed to make you perfect at ruling others, but they've also made you dependent on that control. Without subjects to rule, you don't know who you are." Another council member, a being with multiple arms and silver skin, leaned forward. "You're saying we need to change ourselves?" "I'm saying you need to become yourselves," Taemin answered. "Not what you were designed to be, but what you choose to be." The negotiations took place over several days. Representatives from every species in known space gathered on Hegemon Prime. The Dehun's Pride served as neutral ground for the most difficult discussions. Kim had been working with engineers from the hegemony homeworlds. "Admiral, I've learned something amazing. The genetic modifications done to all these species can be reversed. Not completely, but enough to give them choices they never had before." Park was fascinated by the political discussions. "Sir, what we're seeing is unprecedented. Former enemies working together to create new governments. Species that haven't spoken to each other in centuries learning to cooperate. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Some hegemony hardliners refused to accept the new order. "Admiral, we have a problem," Choi reported. "A group of hegemony military commanders has seized control of the outer defense stations. They're demanding a return to the old system." "How many ships do they have?" Taman asked. 50 warships, including some of their newest battleships. They're threatening to destroy any ship that approaches. Dr. Yoon looked worried. "Captain, these are the most genetically modified beings in the hegemony. They literally cannot imagine any system except total control. To them, our cooperation looks like chaos." Taman made a difficult decision. "Kang, broadcast this message to all ships in the system, human, hegemony, and allied vessels." The communication went out on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Taman, speaking to everyone who can hear this. We have a choice to make. We can solve this problem with violence the old way, or we can solve it with something new." Park looked at him questioningly. "Sir, what are you planning? Something that the hegemony hardliners will never expect." Taman smiled. "We're going to help them." The Daehan's Pride left the main fleet and flew toward the rebel defense stations. But instead of weapons, they carried something else. "Doctor, Yoon's research on genetic modification reversal. Sir, they're targeting us with all weapons," Choi warned. "Don't raise shields," Taman ordered. "Kang, broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we're here to help, not fight." The rebel hegemony forces held their fire, confused by a ship that approached without weapons or shields. "This is Commander Rex Vatan," came a transmission from the lead station. "Why do you not attack? Your weakness disgusts us." "We're not weak," Taman replied. "We're strong enough to offer help even to our enemies." Dr. Yoon took over the communication. "Commander, I know what you're going through. Your genetic programming makes you need to control others. But that need is making you miserable. We can help you change that." "Change is weakness," Rex Vatan shouted. "Order is strength." "Then why are you so unhappy?" Dr. Yoon asked gently. "When did you last feel joy? When did you last choose something just because you wanted to, not because your programming demanded?" There was a long silence. Finally, Rex Vatan spoke again, his voice quieter. We have not felt joy in many cycles. We know only duty." "You can know more," Taman said. "But only if you choose to." Over the next several hours, Dr. Yoon explained her research to the rebel commanders. She showed them how genetic modifications could be adjusted, not removed entirely, but changed to allow for choice and emotion. One by one, the hardline commanders agreed to the procedure. It wasn't easy. Some had been so modified that changing them required careful surgery. But when it was done, they experienced something they had never known: freedom. Kim was amazed by the transformation. "Admiral, I've never seen anything like it. Beings who were programmed to be emotionless are crying with joy. Species that were designed to hate each other are becoming friends." The final negotiations took place in the Daehan's Pride's main hangar. Beings from hundreds of species gathered to sign the Great Cooperation Accord. It wasn't a treaty of conquest or surrender. It was an agreement to work together as equals. "The old hegemony is dead," announced former council leader Thex Moran. "In its place, we established the Galactic Cooperative. Every species has a voice, every being has a choice." Timon was asked to give the closing speech. He stood before representatives of the known galaxy, still wearing the uniform of a human destroyer captain. A year ago, the Daehan's Pride was considered the weakest human warship in the galaxy, he began. "Our weapons were old. Our armor was outdated. Our technology was primitive." He paused, looking at his crew. "But we had something that all the advanced technology in the galaxy couldn't match. We had the ability to choose, to adapt, to care about beings different from ourselves." The crowd was silent, listening intently. The hegemony fell not because we had better weapons, but because we had a better idea. The idea that strength comes from diversity, not uniformity. That cooperation is stronger than control. That every being deserves the right to choose their own destiny. Cheers erupted from beings of dozens of species. The sound echoed through the hangar and out into space, where hundreds of ships from across the galaxy waited. Later, as the celebrations continued, Taemin stood alone on the bridge of the Dahan's Pride. Park found him there, looking out at the stars. "Admiral, the fleet commanders are asking what our next mission will be," she said. "Our next mission?" Taemin smiled. "To explore, to learn, to help any species that wants to join us, and to make sure that no being ever again has to choose between freedom and survival." Kim's voice came over the speakers. "Captain, I've got the engines running perfectly. Where do you want to go?" Taemin looked at the star charts. There were thousands of systems they had never visited, millions of species they had never met. Some might be peaceful, others might be hostile. All would be different. "Take us toward the Galactic Rim," he ordered. "Let's see what's out there." The Dahan's Pride turned away from Hegemon Prime and accelerated into open space. Behind them, the new galactic cooperative began the work of building a civilization based on choice rather than control. The weakest human warship in the galaxy had become something more important than any dreadnought or battleship. She had become a symbol of hope, and as long as there were beings in the galaxy who dreamed of freedom, her advance could never be stopped. The old destroyer and her crew had learned the most important lesson in the universe. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from what you are, but from what you choose to become.